Welcome. This is a scenario for command modern operations. For those unfamiliar, command is a rather high level simulation, does a very good job of simulating naval and air operations, and a decent job of land operations. It pretty much simulates everything from the just after the close of World War II all the way up until the near future. Does a really extensive database, pretty much every unit imaginable, as well as some stuff currently in testing. And what I have done today is made a scenario set in 2016 where the United States has decided to launch a first strike against China to try to decapitate their nuclear forces. This attack is going to be with B-2 stealth bombers who are going to fly in through their radar systems, drop their bombs on their nuclear silos and their tail launchers. At the same time, our Los Angeles class attack subs are going to attempt to neutralize the Chinese nuclear ballistic missile subs. Once the fighting gets underway, we have 4 Ohio class nuclear armed subs ourselves who are going to then launch an all out counterforce strike. When it comes to nuclear warfare, counterforce is meant to take out military and industrial targets. Counter value is meant to target cities and population, more of what you would consider terror strikes. And for the most part, for counterforce, effectively it would be targeting military installations. Taking out industrial installations really probably wouldn't be the most effective thing. A nuclear war is going to be very, very short, and attempting to stop and limit production, kind of waste of time. When half your country and half the world's glowing green, you really don't need to worry about them producing more weapons. It's not like World War II. So, you see here, over China, the extensive radar network. This is accurate to circa 2014. So, based on Intel satellites, this is the locations of their different radars, early warning systems. And then if you zoom in, you'll see actual sites of their nuclear silos. For instance, their largest nuclear silo farm is here near Liaoning. I butchered that, I'm sure. And in these silos, they have the Dongfang 5As. Those are more than capable of reaching the United States, pretty much every city in the United States. They are the highest priority target for our B-2 stealth bombers. And we have 3 flights dedicated to neutralizing that site. 3 flights of 2 ships, and I believe each one is armed with 16 B-83 nuclear strategic bombs, which are 1.2 megaton yields. So the remaining flights are here to take out their tail launchers, which are generally armed with the Dongfang 21As and the 31As, which would include both intermediate and medium range ballistic missiles. I have only added units that are capable of hitting the United States and or some of our nearby allies like Australia, Japan. I have not included their shorter range or conventional weapons. The whole point of the scenario is neutralizing the nuclear forces. Likewise, I have not included any surface warships except for U.S. warships that are running ballistic missile defense, which includes the Ticonderoga cruisers and the Arleigh Burke destroyers. Those are equipped with the Aegis ballistic missile defense systems, and those are positioned to protect Japan, Anderson Air Base, and Guam. We have one protecting Australia. There's a pair protecting Diego Garcia Base. And then Hawaii. And there is a few protecting the west coast of the United States. I have not modeled every city in the United States. I have modeled several of the west coast cities. Pretty much anything west of this line that has over 100,000 people is modeled in here as viable targets for the Chinese counterstrikes, if they are able to counterstrike. As well as the ballistic missile defense ships, we also have the ground-based mid-course interceptors positioned by Lompoc, California, and also up in Alaska. I can't remember the name. If I zoom in, I should have the base here. I didn't name it. But it is located right here. In fact, if you zoom in close, you'll actually see the runway. So there's the runway of that base. So those two sites are dedicated to intercepting intercontinental ballistic missiles. These are the radar sites, the X-band, sea-based X-band radar sites for the ground-based mid-course interceptors. So they're positioned closer towards potential launch sites for as early warning as possible. This has got God's eye view because I'm in the editor here. So we are not going, when I disable that, we are not going to see everything. We will see the radar sites because those are going to be known. We will see the silo sites, in fact. I let it run for a second, the simulation. So we're going to have all the locations of cities. Chengdu right there. ICBM silos and all radar sites. What we are not going to know the exact location of is their nuclear subs and their mobile nuclear launchers. The B-2s are armed with FLIR, forward-looking infrared radar, to identify and target the mobile launchers. And then the attack subs, Los Angeles class, are going to close in. They've been trailing them, so we have a general idea where the Chinese nuclear subs are. As part of U.S. habit, we tend to trail those anytime they're out and about, so we're close by. We're going to close in, use our sonar to detect and neutralize. Those and the silos are the two biggest threats. If we can neutralize those before the Chinese have an attempt to react, we will minimize our own losses. We are not utilizing our own ICBMs. Their target trajectory would take them over Russia, and that would almost certainly trigger a Russian nuclear response. Realistically, in real life, any strike we made on China would probably trigger a Russian nuclear response. Once nukes start getting lobbed, it all goes to hell. So, but trying to retain at least a modicum of realism on this. We are not utilizing our ICBMs. We are utilizing our air-based strategic bombs and our submarine-launched nuclear missiles. And that's it. That's the scenario. We do have some THAADs deployed as well in their real world location or approximate. So South Korea, Guam. There's some U.S.-based ones. Closest approximation. Just like these silos, we don't know the exact location, but we do know they are in this general vicinity here. So I placed them in near mountain ranges to give them their more ideal layout. So that's it. So we're going to try to coordinate these strikes simultaneously, and the way I've designed it, if you notice the time too, I set it 2 minutes to midnight. Midnight based on Zulu, not Zulu time, but local Chinese time. So 2 minutes to midnight. If you're a fan of heavy metal, you should get that reference. So I have set it to where once the first bombs start to go off, it's not like the Chinese are going to be able to immediately start launching their nukes. There's going to be calls made, government officials contacted, Communist Party very top down. So we're going to simulate that by 15 minutes. So once the first strike happens, within 15 minutes, China will start launching their strategic weapons. And they will be launching them at the U.S. and U.S. allies in the region, South Korea, Japan, and Australia, as well as the United States. I have modeled some cities in both locations. Again, I went light on the South Koreans, only putting the largest military base, Camp Humphreys. Reason being, it would be unlikely they would probably launch too many strikes near the North Korean border and their ally. More than likely, they would just hit military targets. Japan, they would almost certainly hit both military and counter value targets in cities. And Australia, the same. So, that's it. That's the scenario. I'm going to run it later, see how it goes. And hopefully we can minimize any retaliatory strikes. So, we'll see.